Anyway, so I'm the apartment guy. I started in real estate in 2011 with my education. I bought my first property in 2012, a 48 unit in North Austin. I've syndicated everything I've ever done. It's the best thing I've ever done. If you're interested in doing what I do or the Apartment Queen does or Amy Tiemann does, it's very rewarding. It's very lucrative. It's hard. And I don't think a lot of people understand how hard it is. They don't tell you about the carjackings and the home invasions and the dead people and the, Homeland Security taking $5 million of my money and not telling me about it. They don't tell you that stuff because they're trying to sell you something at the front of the room. I'm not. I wrote a book, and if you'll stick around to the end, I'll tell you how to get a free copy of it. Again, I'm not trying to make money off of it. I'm just trying to make sure I want everybody to do what I do, because showing you how to do what I do does not take away from what I do. I have a great life. I can teach everybody in here how to have a great life. But you got to understand it's very hard, and I really believe most people really shouldn't do it because they get into it and go, oh my God, this is harder than they made it sound. I don't want to do this anymore. Totally fine. So the property. It's 120 units. It's a Class C property in a D+ neighborhood. Again, one of Austin's ranked top 2 most dangerous intersections in the city. Purchased it in 2015 for $9.75 million. Cash out of pocket, so the money we had to basically bring to the closing table to buy it was $3.7 million. The initial financing, 71% LTV, 10-year term, and a 30-year amortization. Just to make sure that's clear. 10-year term means I have this loan from that lender for 10 years, that's it. At the end of 10 years, I've got to refinance the loan or I've got to sell the property, but I've got to pay off that loan in some way at the end of the 10th year. And a 30-year amortization means that while you're only going to have it for 10 years, we're going to set up your payments as though you were going to hold it for 30 years. So that means at that 10th year, we have what's called a balloon payment. We've probably all heard that. So now I have a huge chunk I got to pay at the end of the 10th year. 4.89% interest, which was phenomenal. It ain't anymore. It's pretty crappy nowadays. 2 years of interest only. And then a rehab budget of $300,000. And I'll show you some pictures of that. When you're buying properties, that slumlord mentality is I'm going to rape the property of every single dollar I can in profit, put it all in my pocket. That's a stupid idea. That's a horrible idea. You've got to continually reinvest in your property. The paint job's going to fail after 5 years maybe. The parking lot might fail after 10 years. The roof is going to need some attention. You're going to have a water main break. Things are going to happen. And I've seen a lot of people, nope, not going to spend any money. It's all going in my pocket. And I'm going to Tahiti. Well, okay, great. But now when the market does this, and everybody around you had the right idea, and they're keeping their property in good repair, the curb appeal still looks good. All the plants at my curb look good. At the leasing office look good. Or at the pool looks good. I don't fill in my pool to save money. Who's going to stand out in a shit market? I am, right? Because when the market gets really bad, competition for renters gets fierce. It gets really bad. And I'm trying to position ourselves that make money when times are good, but position ourselves in a very kind of defensive, as bulletproof as I can make our property, so when the tide turns, because again, tides will always turn. So always put money back into your asset. So these are some of the before and after pics. So I'm really bad about remembering to take before pics, but so that's a before pic right there. I don't know what I was thinking when I took it. I was hanging upside down by the chandelier, I think. But anyways, that was a unit that we took possession of. And while that was kind of rough, I mean, they weren't in good shape when I bought them. Most of them didn't look that bad, but that was the best before I had. But the next picture, so you see the junky little bathroom, all the paint all the silver backing on the mirrors peeling off. Just everything is in really, really poor shape. So then we come in, and we had started our upgrade process, and then we sold in the middle of it. So we never upgraded all of them, but we started to roll out our upgrade process. That's what it turned into, right? It's not as expensive as people would think, right? That's actual granite. It's in the hood. And people are like, oh, you can't put granite in the hood. Why? Well, because you can't. Like, that's bullshit. Who told you you can't? Have you ever tried it? Well, no. You just know that. So don't accept dogma. Try things on your own. take chances, take calculated chances, right? Don't just go out and spend $40 million on a kitchen remodel. You're never going to get that back. But I thought, you know what? Let's test this. That cost me $1,200 to do that kitchen and a bathroom, 2 bathrooms, okay? So now what happens when I turn over a unit, almost every time in these rougher neighborhoods, I have to resurface a plastic laminate, a Formica type countertop, almost every single time I turn that unit. I'm going to average turning a unit twice in a 5-year period. I pick a 5-year period because that's kind of a typical hold. So I want to turn it 2 times in 5 years on average. If that, to resurface this is, I'm going to try to remember this, but I think it's about, to resurface all the countertops, it's about $200 to $300. Okay, let's call it $200, right? So I paid about $1,200 to put granite in, but now because I have granite, I don't have to resurface anymore. So now I don't have to spend $200 2 different times over 5 years. So over 5 years, I save another $400. So you see where my effective cost is not $1,200, it's $800. People don't think deeply enough into these situations. A lot of times they just see the surface number and the surface rent they're going to get for it. They don't dig deeply enough. That makes my unit turns go faster. My guys love me for it because they don't have to deal with spraying because my staffs do their own resurfacing. So it's faster. They don't like to inhale all those fumes. And I got $75 more in rent for that property, for that unit. So try things, right? Try things. So this was a fun thing. We had a pool, but when we took over, like many times, you're going to see grills everywhere. You're going to see grills and you're going to see satellite dishes everywhere. So there's a pool there, but we noticed grills everywhere. I was like, okay, you got to tell them to get rid of the grills. It's a fire hazard. First of all, we're going to lose property. We're going to lose units, but also it's going to get me in a lot of trouble with the fire department, right? The fire marshal will come around and fine me because it's a fire hazard. It's against fire code. So I thought, okay, I'm going to pull all these grills away. I have to do something for them. So we built a grilling area. I don't know if you can see it very well. That's the way it did look. But see, we put 2 really heavy-duty cast iron, not those cheap Walmart little thin metal ones. Those are actual cast iron. And the residents loved them. You know, they grilled out there all the time. And we would use that area then when we would have some of our pool parties a couple of times a year, and we would grill for people there. Parking lot. Again, I'm not great about taking before pictures. I forget all the time, but that was the way the parking lot did look. And then, yes, they had already started some of the repairing of the parking lot, but then you see what it turned out to look like when we got done. This was the first parking lot I ever redid. And I hadn't started a construction company back then, and I didn't realize that in about a month, it didn't look like that. So if you've ever resurfaced anything, it doesn't last very long. We repaired it so it was structurally sound, but that beautiful black, about a month later, all the traffic areas, you started seeing that blacktop stuff to start to come back up again. But it looked beautiful for a little while. And we talk a lot about community. This was the property in which we won both the Austin and National Apartment Association's Rental Owners of the Year for 2016 and 17 respectively. And we talked about it, but that's why we do it. It's not just that we're good people. We are good people. But selfishly, being a good person makes us more profitable. So that was the very first school supply drive we did. We ripped every single backpack off the shelves in Walmart, in 2 Walmarts actually. And, you know, that was a Cinco de Mayo little thing that we did there and had a good turnout for that. And what that actually, it helped create the community. The one that did the most, though, is this one right here. If you're familiar with Jackson Pollock, he's famous for splatter art. I didn't know what the hell any of that meant until I met my wife. She had explained to me who Jackson Pollock was and what this idea was. We had bought the property within a year, so I guess it was probably about 8 months. And she goes, look, I need art for the office. I don't have a budget. What are we going to do? Well, what she decided to do is go spend, I think these are like $10 per canvas. And she bought some really inexpensive paint. And we had a big a pizza party. Said, everybody come out. We're going to do a Jackson Pollock event. Half of them probably didn't know what the hell that was either, but they came out and they got to take a paintbrush and splatter. All the kids came up and splattered. And then the parents started taking part in it. So they got involved. They had fun with it, right? So why do we do this? We owned North Chase for about 3 years. We bought it in December of 15 and we sold it December of 2018. So almost 3 years to the day. We were short about a week. We averaged an 8 to 9% cash on cash return during the whole period. So it wasn't a home run, right? Again, we're not buying deeply distressed assets that we can turn around and get a 15% cash on cash. It was an 8 to 9. That's really good. We sold with an investor total return of nearly 60%. So we averaged about 20% a year for the investors. No investor ever paid a single tax on their distributions, right? That's one of the big reasons we do this. You know, let's say I send out $100,000 in distributions. You know, people aren't paying taxes on that because of the way we structure these deals. With depreciation, you've probably heard of, cost segregation. Nobody paid any taxes on this stuff. And then it gets even better. We did a 1031 like-kind exchange and we bought a 200-unit property. So we went from a D neighborhood with a C property. We bought a B asset and a B neighborhood sandwiched between a golf course and a lake. So we went from 120 units to 200 units because we did a 1031 tax-free exchange or like-kind exchange. We got about 50% of the investors to move forward with us. The new property, well, I just told you that. No, I didn't. So we project it to make 7 to 10% cash and cash returns over the hold period with a 1.8 to 2x equity multiple. Okay, so that means a 2x equity multiple means if you invest $100,000, once we sell the property, between your share of the profits from sale together with all of your cash flow distributions, a 2x equity multiple means you put in $100,000 in equity, you got $200,000 out. It's a 2x equity multiple. That's what we project on this next deal. We've held it for a little over a year now, a year and a half probably. For those that move forward with us, they didn't pay any taxes on the sale profit either. But I'm being told I got to wrap it up. We're all going to go out to the bar. If we want to walk out there, I'll answer questions. They're back there doing this shit to me, so we got to get. Thank you, guys.